Tiffany Lorraine Galloway, certified high performance coach, with another episode of the Resilient Mother podcast. Don't mind my new background. We got some things changing over in my world. And so you're going to get some different views over the next few episodes, just so you know. Heads up. Yes, this is my bedroom. That's all right. You see truth there, love. We got some of my power words back there. It's all good. So welcome to this space. Today and this month, we're going to be speaking about resilient strength and giving you tips and tricks, strategies, true stories, inspiration so that you can be a strong mother and build resilience in your life. And with me today, I have another Tiffany Harvey. This is the third or fourth Tiffany I've had on the podcast, which is so fun. I love that so much. Thank you for being here. Please tell us more about you.
First, thank you for having me today. Yes, I am Tiffany Harvey, and I am, a speaker. I'm a writer. I'm a mother. I'm a naval officer. But most importantly, I am someone who have overcome some major life unexpected storms and pains. And, I'm just here as a survivor, and I'm so happy to have me here just so I could speak and share, just a little bit of my testimony and my story with you and your guest today.
Wonderful. To start off, my question I always ask is, how would you define resilience?
Oh, I find it as just never giving up. Resilience is everyone's going to get hit with something in life that they're not expecting, some kind of storm, challenge, adversity. But resilience is never giving up. Continue to push forward no matter what's going on, no matter what happened. Just continue to encourage yourself and know that you can get through it. So that's my definition. Never give up and keep pushing forward.
How do you think resilience and strength work together?
I think they work honestly hand in hand. Sometimes when we go through stuff, we don't feel like we are strong enough to get through it. And that's because we don't think we are prepared enough to get through it. But one thing I learned through therapy, not one, but two therapists, they helped me realize that, God prepared me to handle every storm that's going to come into my life. The Bible speaks of that. I think it's John 16. And he says, stormy seasons are inevitable. So he's telling us we're going to go through some storms and some life challenges. We just don't know in our heart that he's already prepared it for us. So your strength, you just got to kind of dig deep and know that he already gave you all the strength you need to get through everything that you're going to face.
One of my favorite scriptures that complements that is I can do all things through Christ in Philippians. And I think that's the source of strength. Really, for me in my life, I will always go back and give credit to God because I don't know how I got through what I got through. And even people go, how did you get through that? And I'm like, I just point up and I'm like, the man upstairs.
Yes.
He sent angels when the people didn't show up. He sent someone else. When I was down low, he found a way to bring me back up. He gave me the inspiration. He gave me the small whispers. It doesn't always come in these dramatic ways either, I think is the thing. Strength can be silence. Strength can be patience. Strength can be these other virtues that aren't flashy or things that the world even recognizes. They can be meek. It can be humble. And these simple things. And I'm so grateful that you shared that because I love being a mother of faith. And I really want to instill those things in my children because that's where my resilience and my strength comes from. And they're not going to know that source if I'm not giving them the opportunity to see how that's working in my own life.
Yes, I 100% agree with you. Sometimes it's about the foundation that was, instilled in us. And now we're trying to instill in our kids, because we can't stop them from living. We can't stop life from lifing or happening. We know they're going to go through things, but we want to just plant that seed and give them a strong foundation. Like, when you go through anything, I need the first place I want you to go. Even don't come to me. I need you to go to God first because he's the one who's going to bring you through it. I'm going to be there to support you and love you, but he's the one who's going to guide you through it.
Amen. And we can't take everything away. We do sometimes just have to give them love and pray for them as Correct. Our kids. I have an older child in my life who I don't have the relationship I would like with. And all I can think about is sending them love and praying for them a lot of the time and connecting when I can. That's just how things worked out. I'm a birth mom, and so it just didn't quite go as I thought it would. But that doesn't change my love, and that doesn't change my faith. I always will have this thing, and they're my strength, and they're the foundation of my life that nobody is ever going to be able to take away from me. And it's so important to know what can't be taken away from you, to live your truth. And we were talking about narcissism before we got on. And I think that's a place that's very important in the experience that you and I shared a little bit, and we'll share a little bit on here as well, is knowing your truth and your strength and your resilience and who you are, to the point that whatever gets thrown at you, you're going to be able to come back to that center, to that core of who you are. Because we do have God that we can go to, but he knows us better than we know ourselves. So he can teach us who we are and who we're meant to be in whatever we face. And so I've been in narcissist relationships, and it was a pattern that I finally had to realize from childhood to now, I need to break. I kept attracting them and I couldn't figure out why. And it would surprise some people because I was seen as kind of this not quite straight A student, but a good student and an achiever and someone who went out and put themselves out in the world in a beautiful way. And so why did I attract that in my life? Well, you said you did too, and you're a very accomplished person as well. And so can you speak to that a little bit and the strength that it took to overcome that?
Oh my God, yes. When I met my ex in 14, he came off as this handsome, confident man, and that he had it, had it all together. Not perfect, but, had the basic checklist all together. Now, I will be honest. Did he really meet all my checklists? No. But this is where sometimes as women, we allow other people to dictate our list. And at that time, I'm going to be honest, I allow other people to dictate my list where you're being too picky. So I removed things off my list. Come to find out, they were not just regular standards. They were boundaries. And right. And the boundaries was there to protect me. I just didn't know that at the time. And so, after about 3 years of dating, living together, we got, married, had a beautiful son. And honestly, I thought my life was great. I thought I was living my best life. But then shortly after that, me getting pregnant, everything changed. And a narcissist, unfortunately, they do pride on successful women, someone who has it all together. I know somebody like, no, they don't. Yes, they do, because they get off as like you're their prize. And then they're going to try to break that prize to lift their spirits, because they are hurt people trying to hurt people. They can't give love that they do not have. So for me, when it started happening, I was like, wow, I got this man's back, to realize he put a knife in mine the entire time. Yeah. And, it hurt because we was only married 3 years. Literally 3 years. My son had just turned 2 years old. We had just celebrated our 3rd year anniversary. And not even 2 weeks later, all I said, I want to take some time apart, because I saw the coming home late, the lying, the sneakiness. We weren't even sharing a room. We wasn't sharing a bed. I actually became a single mother and a roommate while I was married. Keep in mind, I never really had roommates before, but outside of college or military, I've always lived by myself. So I'm married, but now I have a roommate and I'm a single mother all at the same time. But again, I thank God for wisdom to allow me to see everything with my eyes open and not to make excuses for what he was doing or what he was saying. And all I said, let's take some time apart. And I promise you, me saying, let's take some time apart, turned to him to buying a house and asking me for a divorce all in 10 days.
Yeah. It's interesting because they wear masks in a way that majority of people find them very charming, very charismatic. They often have big titles like doctor or architect, or they have family money, or they have some title that they're hiding behind, is what I often find. But the sad thing is there's nothing underneath that. There's no core to these people. And so they know how to play on fitting your checklist. And they love people who do not have firm boundaries. They're really good at getting in there. And if you've had a pattern in your life of narcissists, unfortunately, it may feel comfortable. And it's hard to break when you don't recognize it. I know it took me much longer than I wish it had to get out. And unfortunately, one of the patterns that we talked about a little bit was they do leave women pregnant or think they've got them pregnant. I am shocked in my own research to realize that this is one way that they just annihilate a woman's life and have no regard for life. They have no regard for family. They have no respect for the person. And they have no problem walking away and leaving someone in a complete mess and then blaming them for it, not deflecting. And I found that they often play the hero or the victim, and they play nothing in between.
No.
Which is not real life, because real life, sometimes I succeed, sometimes I fail. But I am not the hero, nor am I the victim of my life. I am human. I'm experiencing all the things. And when we know our truth, we can come back to it. I'm so glad to hear you came back quickly before it could turn into abuse, because sometimes when people approach them the way that you did, it can get really ugly. It violently, I mean, there's financial abuse, there's emotional abuse, there's physical abuse, there's many, many forms that it can just lash out and take, because you've crushed the reality, the delusion that they've created for themselves that justifies that they're the victim in the situation. And that is something I think it's important too to teach our kids today, that they're not entitled. I think narcissism kind of comes from a sense of entitlement, and also comes from not teaching compassion for other people. And also, if you have something traumatic happen to you, that doesn't justify behaviors later. It doesn't justify not doing the work for what happened to you. You get to decide what you do about it. And we talked about that too, about they just can't resolve it. Like
they can't. And, the one thing, if any woman listening, you can't fix them, and it's okay. And if you find yourself in this type of relationship, it's not your fault. And that's one thing that, each therapist that I had, and let me be clear, I had a spiritual therapist and I had a medical professional therapist, because I needed both of them, on the spiritual side and the medical side, to really help me go not down the road of blaming myself. And a lot of us, when we end up with narcissists, that's the first thing we do. Like, how did I get in this situation? How did I allow this man in my life? I have all this going for myself. I'm this, but in my personal life, I don't understand. But that's one thing I would say they never allow me to do. And they always brought it back as, he is who he is, you are who you are, and you only control what's going on around you now. How you got in this situation, we're going to learn from, but we're not going to blame. And that's one of the things, if you're dealing with a narcissist, they want you to blame yourself. They want to see you broken. And I had to do a lot of research, because it took the therapist to tell you, you're married to a narcissist. And I didn't understand what that meant. I had no clue what that was, because I'm like, what is that? But after doing a lot of reading, I literally found one passage somewhere on the internet that compared and said, a narcissist, that term is the medical professional term. But then it connected to the spiritual term, the devil in sheep's cloth. They are the same people. It's two different terms, but they both are coming in your life for a reason. That is to steal, kill, and destroy you.
And you can lose yourself in them. I know I did, but growing up with it, that was where my value was placed. How much can I give to the family? How much can I give to other people? That's where my value is. The more I was willing to sacrifice myself, what I really wanted and my truth, somehow the more valuable I was, which is so backwards.
Wow.
And how it actually is. And so I would love to save anyone that trouble of having years to have to figure it out. Because at first it's like something doesn't feel right. What doesn't feel right about this? Why am I attracting this? What is going on? And then there's that, it must be me. And then you finally realize, no, it's what happened to you. It's not what's wrong with you. What happened to you? And now what do you want to do about it? And it takes a lot of strength, I think, to be that honest with yourself and to be willing to do the work, because it takes inner work. And you have to do that work, because if you don't, they still have power. You're still giving them power. If you don't get back on your feet, if you don't get back to the success that you had. And something I'd like to speak about more too is having children with a narcissist is tricky, because they are still their parent. The ones that choose to be involved, those that walk away, whether they walk away or they choose to be a part of their life, there are consequences for that behavior in that child's life. Yes. And as a mother, you want so much to take the pain and hurt that comes with that away, but there's only so much you have control of. Can we empower some moms with like what you can do about that?
Oh my God, yes. I mean, it hurts my heart because my son is having not to experience my choice of picking his father. He didn't choose to be here. And I started seeing stuff in my son at 2, you know, the different behaviors, the different patterns. And now my son is in therapy. And it's a lot of it is some of the things that's going on in his father's home. But as a mother, like you said, I can't be there with him 24/7, but I'm trying to instill to him the tools that can help him when I have him with me, or even when he's over there, how to deal with his emotions, how to deal with his anger. And the one biggest thing that the therapist and myself were working on to teach him, your words matter. Never let anyone shut out your words. Your no means no. Your yes means yes. Your words matter. That is one of the things now is where me working with my son is now got me inspired to do a book for kids. It's actually going to be an emotional coloring book for kids. And there's not that much stuff. There are things on the market, but there's not that much for, you know, moms who can't afford therapy. Everybody can't afford therapy. Everybody do not know how to talk to their kids. And let's be honest, kids don't want to talk to the parents.
Yeah, especially when they're teenagers.
Right? They don't want to talk to us. But we know if we catch some of this at a very young age, we have a very good chance when they become older and teenagers, they're not so broken. They know how to, you know, deal with things in life just a little bit better, you know. So if you are a parent and you are trying to, you know, kind of co-parent with a narcissist, I will honestly seek therapy is probably my best advice if you can. And get them to start talking, because my son said a lot of things I had no clue, and it broke my heart. It literally it shattered me. But I was happy at the end of the day that he was at least telling it to somebody he trusts. And now I want to create something that is comfortable for kids to be able to not only express their emotions, but literally tell them it's okay to feel what you're feeling.
And that's so true. They want to silence you.
Yeah.
A narcissist does. I love the idea of helping them young, like a coloring book. I love that. I do affirmations with my son. I do things as the only parent in his life. I know I need to be consistent. I need to show up. I need to pour love into this child. Am I perfect at all the time? No. But I do know the importance of the apology, and I do know the importance of God gave me this child for a reason, and I'm meant to be this child's mother. Whether that parent that I share this child with is a narcissist or not, there's a responsibility there. And if they're not going to take it, I will. And if they're going to share it with me, then we got to get back to giving this child the truth and the strength and the resilience that they need to succeed in life. And I love what you said about your voice, because I have found that pattern with a lot of narcissist people. It's someone who's not willing to speak up for their boundaries, or not willing to, maybe doesn't know their truth because they've had to be a chameleon their whole life themselves. I think that's a fine line, like of an empath and a narcissist, to someone who's like been in tune with other people's emotions to the point it affects them and they don't quite understand why, versus manipulating somebody by being in tune with someone. And that's the thing is that any narcissist will come across like they have this beautiful golden thread for you, but they're going to take that thread and they're going to weave a web
Mm.
and entangle you and entangle you and entangle you and try to get you to where you're not going to be able to get out of their web. Even if you cut pieces, you try to get away, they still want this attachment to you
They
because
can't let go.
they can't get that attachment with themselves. They're filling a black hole in a lot of ways. And so the more that you can do to sever that connection sometimes is absolutely necessary. But you can't do that for the child. So the child has to learn how to untangle that web each time.
And that's where teaching them.
And untangle it. Get
Yeah.
them back to their truth. Like, okay, what happened? What was said? Okay, let's think about this. Let me give you perspective on this. And it's just going to take repetition, I think, is the thing. Be that consistent parent. Show up consistently each time. Reinforce the good in that child as much as you possibly can. And sometimes that may mean that child trusts you with all of their anger, with all of their negative experiences and emotions. They'll dump that on you. And I'm so glad somebody pointed out, they're doing that because they know you still love them.
Yes.
Giving you it because they know you can handle it, and you've proven to them that they can trust you with it. And then that just disseminates any of the triggers that puts in me, or the questioning of if I'm being a good mom or not. Because if they're complaining, or if they're like, Mom, it means you care and you're doing something about it. Whereas a narcissist won't be in tune with how their actions are affecting the other person.
And I'm so happy you said that, because I had to ask the therapist, both my son's therapist and my therapist one day, is like, why is my son coming back almost a different person? And why is he taking all these emotions out on me, want to hit me, scream at me, yell at me? And they both said because he trusts you and he knows you are going to protect him. And right now he doesn't know how to verbally say what he want to say because he's only 5. And this has been going on for the last few years. He hasn't been, only way he know how to get your attention to let you know something wrong is by acting out. Because he knows mommy's going to fix it. You're going to make it better for him. Yeah. That's why he's a different person when he goes to his father's house and he comes here. But you're the only parent that's recognizing it. So that is
the true child. You know what they are good at. You know how their behavior usually is. And so you know that difference. And Correct. It can be funny too, because kids can also, through this, be somebody different at school than they are at home, be somebody different than they are at church than they are at home. And it can be really good behavior versus bad behavior at home, or vice versa. And it's so much has to do with how they're developing their identity. And so if you can bring them back to their true identity and to God, who knows them better than anyone and can help us mothers too. This is going on with my child. You know what this child needs. Please guide me, inspire me on what to do next.
Yes. And sometimes it's, we have to be, do anything we deal with, do anyone we deal with where it's a struggle, we have to know we could turn to God. We have to know where we find our peace. And it's like a Hurricane 5 storm. If you ever been through a storm or Hurricane 5, the center of the storm, the eye of the storm, that's where it's more calming. And sometimes when we're dealing with narcissistic people or dealing just with life, you have to get to the center. And sometimes you got to walk dead head first in the middle of the storm, but you get in the center, and that's the place where you're going to find so much peace, and you're going to be able to just sit there and meditate. You're going to be able to sit there and renew your strength, and you're going to be able to sit there and just talk to God and just say, God, where are you taking me?
Yeah.
What is it that you want me to know? I'm going to follow you wherever you leave me, but I just need to hear from you. And then that goes into another point of who you're talking to. Be careful. I love my friends. I love my therapist. I love my family. But they all love me so much. Sometimes their advice conflicts with who I am inside and what God is telling me. So sometimes you have to be careful who you speak to when you're dealing with certain narcissistic people, because their goal is to break you. And sometimes the advice that your friends are giving you is also breaking you, even though God is trying to build you. So we have to be careful and know when to just go sit with God and give him all of our pain, all of our tears, all of our frustration. He will answer everything if you just say, Lord, open my heart and my ears. I want to hear from you. I want to
Amen.
hear from you.
Yes. And he can see the whole picture. He understands when the storm's going to end. He's going to know when that right person is going to come along for you. And you just don't have all the pieces. We see so little compared to what he sees in eternity. Sometimes you can feel like, why is this happening? And you can question God.
And it's
But
okay.
go back to your faith. You know, he's gotten people through worse. He's gotten you already through a ton of storms. He's already lifted you in the past. He hasn't left you. Miracles still happen every day, and they can happen for you and your child, but God works in mysterious ways. He works by simple things. It's not always going to be this grand thing that happens. It may just be the inspiration of what to say to that child every day or every time they come home. It may be just this little inspiration, but we only have those when we have a lot of gratitude with God for what we have, and when we are able to see his tender mercies every day. We count the little blessings along the way. That's when we have the guidance that we need in every moment, because we're in tune with him. It's like being tuned into a radio. Like, you've got to be in the right channel and frequency for him. And as you were saying the thing about the storm and being in the center of it, like, I just got chills. And I had this visual of, like, I'd been around a tornado once. Scary experience. But I was thinking about how if you were in the center of that, how you would be pulled up and then catapulted somewhere else. And I think sometimes that's what it feels like after being in a narcissist relationship. You're like lifted off the ground from where you thought you were going, and you're going somewhere else. But you have to understand that wherever you're catapulted to, wherever you end up, is where you're meant to be. That the grass isn't greener somewhere else, and you can bloom wherever you're planted. And you were planted there for a reason.
Right. I mean, God, I have a saying now. I have I love my affirmations, and anyone who follows me knows I wear all my affirmations on my shirts, my sweaters now. And I wrote a devotional. It's in a devotional called Joy 365, and it's titled "I'm Built for This." And that has been my number one affirmation throughout this whole period for the last 3 years, going on 4 years. And I had to remind myself when days get tough that I'm built for this, because God already prepared me for this. And everyone just needs to remember that just because it's dark today and it's gloomy today and it's raining, it's never rained forever. The sun always came out again. You know, he prepared you long before everything that you're going on in your life. But guess what? He also built out that path. He tells you, he already sent the angel ahead to clear the path. He already created your path. You just got to just walk on it and just ask God, can you light up that path so I can see it? I don't want to waver. I want to stay on the path you designed for me, because I know you already built me for this.
Yeah. I picture Moses stepping into the Red Sea and having it part, like just this impossible thing.
Yes.
Promised land. He's taking us to the promised land where we are meant to go. And we just have to trust the process and teach our children to trust that same process.
Yes.
And
teach them their voice matters. Teach them they matter. You know, we just got to teach them what true love, genuine God-like love feels and looks like.
Then they can recognize it, and then they can accept it when it comes along. And that's so true. If you haven't been in a healthy relationship before, it feels weird. Right. If you haven't been in love for the right reasons, it feels different.
And that's something I want to give kids something that they enjoy doing. One, as an adult, I still love to color, you know.
About coloring books. Oh, yeah.
And so I want to kind of combine something therapeutic, but something what they enjoy. So I really want to take this workbook, and I want to ask questions, and their little minds and their little hearts could understand, and just like, how are you feeling today? And if you're happy, they go to the happy session and they write down why they're happy. And guess what? They can't write it down. They could draw it out. It's going to be they're going to be able to draw out why they're happy or why they're sad or why they're scared. And they're going to be able to read an affirmation in their little language, just in their little third, fourth, fifth grade language that's really geared to them. And a picture, the little color picture will match. Guess what? It's going to match the feeling, because I don't want to change it. I want you to sit in your feeling and embrace, I'm sad, and it's okay to be sad. But tomorrow it's going to be a better day.
Yeah. And I think what you're teaching them is to separate themselves from the emotion. Yeah. I feel bad does not mean I am bad.
Correct.
It's a feeling. I have control of that feeling. I can choose what to do with it. And getting it out, journaling, drawing, writing, dancing, singing, find your expression. I love creative therapy outlets of all sorts. Play therapy, there's art therapy. There is a therapy out there for you or your child that can help them feel strong in their truth so that they can be resilient. Thank you so much for being here today. I have absolutely loved our discussion today, and maybe we'll have you back again. And so if anyone wants to work with you and see what you're up to with this project and other books and the many things that you're doing, where can they find you?
So you can find me on speakwithtiffany.com, www.speakwithtiffany.com. You can follow me on Instagram or Facebook at Speak with Tiffany, as well as TikTok with Speak with Tiffany as well. But I have so many projects, just not for kids. I was telling you before I came on, I launched my first book last week, and it's really to help kids become young CEOs and young entrepreneurship, to help them get a business started in 2024. And that's called Dropshipping Magic Beginner's Guide. But for us women, there's a book coming out on March 11th called Healing But Not Broken. And that's really where I get to share my testimony. But it's a workbook to help you see where your heart is that day and help you with guidance and just some tools that help me. It's tools that I use to help me overcome, and I'm passing those tools on to you. And so look out for that. But if you want to reach me to book me for a speaking event or a consultation session, definitely speakwithtiffany.com, or you could just email me, at tiffanyharvey@speakwithtiffany.com.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, listeners, for being here today. Go on out there and be strong and resilient and know that you've got this. We believe in you, believe in yourselves, and God bless. We will see you next time.